Welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric. Today I'm going to attempt to do some blending on the blending board and actually use two cameras at the same time and talk to you. And hopefully the sound will be okay, because who knows what the microphone's going to pick up as I am blending these fibers. So these are some fibers that I dyed up last summer, and I think that they will work really well to be used by one of my kids in the Countdown to Christmas collection of granny squares they're now making. These fibers weren't quite the color I wanted for another project. They didn't end up in the Countdown to Christmas collection, mainly because I had thought about using them for something else and then changed my mind. But I think if I blend them with an undyed fiber, deciding which camera I need to look at, if I blend them with an undyed fiber, I might get the nice muted soft green that I think my daughter would like to use to attach all of her granny squares. So that's what we're going to be trying to do. I don't know how much of this I will record, but we'll get started. We'll talk a little. We'll see what comes of it. I think I'm doing this the opposite way. There's the other one. Okay, so I want to show off my blending board. So there's my blending board. My husband made it for me. We purchased the cloth, and then he did, using a bunch of scraps and stuff, he put together this beautiful blending board. It has two levels. I can do it in my lap if I just unscrew the bolts. I'm pretty pleased. Actually, I'm really pleased. It's a beautiful blending board. It works really well. I don't tend to use it all of the time because most of the time I just spin right from the fleece. But it is a lovely blending board, a lovely tool to have in the arsenal. If anybody out there is woodworking and so inclined, feel free to take this design, copy it, whatever. It's a compliment if they start to show up all over the place. So, all right, this fiber's been sitting around now for about 6 months. It's getting a little compacted. And for those who have used a blending board, well, I hope you just join in with a chat. I hear my phone pinging because I forgot to silence it before I got started. For those of you who haven't used a blending board, my technique is to just drag it down. Drag it down. I just tore off a chunk of the white, but maybe not. Oh well. It will show up. And then I just simply drag down the next color. The process is pretty simple. I have found there's a lot of different tools you can use, but I have found for me what works best is a standard floor scrub brush. And I just pat down, brush down. This is the one I used for my drum carder actually quite a bit. But it works for the blending board as well. I just pat down, brush down. I will superimpose a picture here or here, whichever, in a bit. Once it's brushed down, I come in. I have two dowels that I use. I come in with one of the dowels, and again, I'll superimpose the video above so you can see the detail. I kind of get it started, put the second dowel in place, and then it's just a gentle tug and roll, and I am getting a nice, whoops, till I drop it. I'm getting a nice faux log or punis. I think that's how you pronounce it. And there you have it. And that is what I'll be spinning with. So I'm going to work on making a huge stack of those. I'm going to take a break for a moment to go silence my phone. And also, I think I'm going to put a mat down that will prevent this from sliding all over the place. So, short little detour and break, and we'll be back with you. Okay, I'm back. That was a longer break than I expected. Had to talk with my child, or one of my children, and I broke this hank of fiber into lots of little pieces so it's easier. So, once again, dragging the fiber down the blending board, adding more fiber to it randomly before wishing it together. So I figured I was going to come and, oh goodness gracious, huge windstorm outside right now. Everything is just flying around. I have a lot of yard ornaments that spin and bells twinkle, and right now they're kind of going crazy outside. Sun's out though, as you can see kind of behind me. Nice sunny day, but boy is it windy. So one of the things about doing the blending board is when doing the blending board is you don't really want to overload it. It makes it a little bit it can make it a little bit harder to get the fibers off. So it's kind of that balance between load enough on it that you don't have to keep loading, but don't load so much that it becomes a struggle. So I'm actually going to tilt this, even though I'm recording. I'm going to tilt this, and that shows you, yeah, because I'm recording from the side as well, but that shows you how it just layered over the top of itself. And then out comes the sticks. So I will admit that when it comes to the blending board, I have some hackles, I have some hand carders. I am not a terribly technical person when it comes to fiber prep. There are some really great books and materials out there by people who are true fiber artists and technicians, and they probably have the names of what all of this is called a lot more so than I do. But I have issues, some cognitive issues every so often that make it to where I forget words that I used to know or that I should know. And I have found I've reached the point where being able to retain new information is okay, but being able to retain new terminology isn't always okay. So, rather than fighting it, rather than stressing over it, I embrace the notion of call it a roll log, call it a faux log, call it a punis, punis, P-U-N-I-S, whatever. Call it whatever you want. It is, it didn't come off very well. It's a snake of fiber. It's a snake of fiber, and I will spin from it. And if you're really wanting to do a worsted spin, or really wanting to do a woolen spin and having it technically correct, or if you're working on getting certification as a master spinner, oh my goodness, listen to me ramble, but find somebody else for the technical side. To me, spinning is therapy, and it is joy. It helps me. It helps me heal. In the last, it's now been about 12 years, 12 to 13 years that I've been working with fiber and spinning. And in that time, spinning has helped me recover physically initially. It kept me moving when health issues made it so I didn't want to move. And it helped me emotionally heal. See, another snake. And I don't worry about if it comes apart. It's just when I go to spin it, I'll spin it. It'll just work. So spinning, though, it's helped me heal emotionally. I had purchased my first spinning wheel the year my mom passed away. I had hoped to. My mom was an avid knitter. People that knew her, they never saw her anywhere without her knitting. She knit sweaters and she knit baby booties primarily, and she just knit. That's what she did. If she had to wait in a doctor's office, if she had to had downtime, her hands were busy with knitting. And when she passed away at a much too young age and without much warning, I didn't get a chance to spin yarn for her. My daughter had started raising Angora rabbits. My daughter had started raising Angora rabbits the year before my mom passed away, and I'd hoped to spin Angora for her because she used the Angora yarn that she purchased to make little fluff crowns on the top of baby booties that she would knit. And so when she passed away and I got my first spinning wheel, I knew I wasn't going to be able to give yarn to my mom to knit, but I knew that I could knit, and without my mom, there wasn't anybody else to knit the sweaters, to knit the baby booties. I've never been able to really do the baby booties. I have reached a point now that I can knit with the small needles, but my gauge is too loose. Even when I shrink down needles to get a finer gauge, sadly, it's just not something that my hands can do. Not well. So the baby booties are something my daughter makes, and I concentrate mainly on spinning for sweaters or just spinning for fun. And I always try to find something to do with the yarn. I think I'm saying a whole lot of ums. This multitasking is new, but I'm going to give it a try. We're going to see how this works out. So I always try to find something to do with my yarns, and recently what I've found gives me great joy is orphan skeins are they're wonderful to give away. And when I'm wearing, especially in the winter, when I'm wearing knitted hats or scarves and people talk to me about my spinning and knitting, I love taking skeins that I have and giving them to the people so they can give them a try. If the knitters hadn't really played with a specific fiber before or haven't worked with hand spun before, I think it's wonderful to pass on some of my orphan skeins, some of the skeins that I've made, just to use up some remnant fibers from batches. Because I've been very fortunate. And when I wonder how much this is coming through on the audio, but I was very fortunate. I lived in Colorado and was able to get up to the Estes Park wool market a number of years in a row, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get quite a number of fleeces. I may spend the rest of my life trying to actually spin through the stuff that I bought before moving, and then the stuff that I bought here after moving. But I do tend to sit down when I spin. I tend to spin for big projects or spin to give away. And it's another way of finding the joy and sharing the joy when I can, take a skein of yarn to, say, somebody in my dentist's office or doctor's office. So, more snakes. So, where was I? I know I'm just kind of rambling, and maybe that's all this is going to be. I'll probably, after doing just a little bit more, I'll probably wrap things up and then finish this video with a photo or two of my stack of fibery worms. But as I was saying, so I started spinning as a way to make some yarn for my mom. I had heard tales of people who had started spinning and found that it was great therapy for them. And it turns out, in my case, it was wonderful therapy. The treadling of the spinning wheel, the rhythm of it, it calms me. It keeps me moving. And even on some of my worst days when pain, stiffness, and fatigue dominate, even on those days, I can usually spin. Sometimes I can't knit or quilt because muscle group will lock up, my back will hurt, something that, I just can't overcome. But often when I have bouts like that, and they'll usually last a number of days, if not weeks, I can usually sit down in my rocking chair and I can spin. And so, starting in around 2008, I started spinning just for health reasons. And it was then, those years, that I started regaining the dexterity in my hands. And I went from not being able to hold knitting needles to, again, being able to hold knitting needles. And so it physically got me moving when I mentally did not want to move because of the level of pain that I was experiencing. So it has been a wonderful therapy. It's not a cheap therapy. I've gone from one spinning wheel to 4. Yes, 4 that are mine, 2 that are my daughter's in my house, and my son also has a spinning wheel, which fortunately is with him, and I don't have to house. But I primarily spin on my larger spinning wheel, my Saxon, my Kromsky Symphony. That one is my workhorse. That's the one that I like to spin on the most. At times when I'm really not feeling the very best, I will move to my minstrel. I love working with my Kromsky minstrel because it is it's compact, and I'm able to focus my my posture and my body around the compact spinning wheel, i.e. I don't have to move much. So I do like to use that. I like to use it a lot when I'm doing finer, more controlled, not thinner spins, but more controlled spins that I pay attention to rather than just mass produce as quickly as I can. Because I don't worry about technical. I don't worry about a lot of the angle of the twist. I don't worry about completely, I don't know. I don't worry about the technical side of the spin. I just spin. I go by feel. And it comes down to, most of the time, I think I'm creating a semi-woolen or semi-worsted yarn, depending on depending on what it's going to be used for. If I want to have it really fluffy, if I want to have it more durable. And the exception to that is when I am trying to spin something very lace weight, or, and this is when I really use my minstrel, I go to the minstrel when I want it to be light and full of air and fluffy and scream, oh my goodness, baby knits. When I want to do that, then I go to the minstrel. If I am spinning Angora at a nearly 100% level of Angora, or 100% Angora, I'll go to the minstrel, because it's slower than my symphony. It is just more, I have more control, I'm more compact with it. So, because I don't worry about the technical side all that much, my philosophy, whether it's spinning, whether it's knitting, whether it's quilting, if it is structurally sound, I'm happy. If it serves the purpose that I intend for it, I'm happy. Beyond that, I will leave the technical, I will leave the perfection seeking, the sheer mastery, I will leave that to others. For me, the primary purpose falls into two categories. Does it give me joy? And can I provide something joyful for my family and friends? And that's what it comes down to. So whether I am spinning, whether I am knitting, whether I'm quilting, crochet, now with hot fix gems, the embroidery machine, all the things that I do, for me it comes down to, and it includes making patterns that I give away. It includes documenting the journey. It includes making these videos. Everything I do falls into the two categories of, does it bring me joy, and is it something I can share with family and friends and bring them joy? And it's a different philosophy than the one that I was necessarily focusing on 30 years ago. It was a decision I made, a choice I made. I think it's always been part of my nature. If I look back to my youth and I think about, the Christmas that I really angered my brothers. So back in the 70s, when I was still young and wistful in my thoughts, I had watched a TV program, probably Little House on the Prairie, who knows, but the concept of making Christmas gifts, homemade Christmas gifts for family and friends, just intrigued me. It just delighted me. And I thought, wouldn't that be the most perfect thing? Wouldn't that make Christmas so wonderful? Is instead of being commercial, instead of going to the store and spending lots of money, let's make Christmas gifts for each other. I suggested this to my family. My brothers were furious with me. It was not what they wanted to do for Christmas. They were not supportive of this notion, and they let me know. It didn't get mentioned again. I can understand and appreciate. I'm still very much in the mindset of making things for Christmas, but I do enjoy spending money for Christmas on stuff for others as well. I am totally unrestricted in my desire to buy things that you would normally only buy for small children and then give it to my husband or myself or my kids and say, it's for the future grandbabies. And they know it is not for the future grandbabies. It's for me. I love all of the little toys and trinkets, and if it makes noise and if it's soft and squishy, I love these things that are designed for the little kids, but I can play with. So I do, though, focus a lot of my own purchase notion for Christmas. When family want to get me something for Christmas, the truth is I'd rather not wait till Christmas. I'd rather get tools. I'd rather them make something like this blending board. By the way, there's another look of how it is. And I'm just doing the white over the green and pulling them off. If I wanted to, I could take some more of the green and I could put it over. But this works. All I'm going for is to have not a full blend of color, but just to create a slightly lighter shade of green than would have been if I'd have just spun this green roving by itself. And I should make a note, when I get all of these turned into the little snakes, little worms, I will mix them all up, both sets from both of the greens. I will mix them all up, and I will then separate them into the piles to be spun. So it will work out. I've done similar things before. I know that it will give me the type of yarn that I want. So as I was saying, though, when it comes to things like Christmas, when it comes to my birthdays and Mother's Day, I am so much more thrilled when family and friends, instead of waiting until the holiday, if they want to make me something, if they want to add to my tool collection, if they want to add to my supplies, if they don't wait. To me, it doesn't matter if it's on a specific day. If you have the intent of wanting to share something, share it in the moment that you're prompted to share it. Share it in the moment that you have it done. I find that when we get really excited, use the example of my husband. He'll appreciate this. He's very supportive of me sharing these things. So all of a sudden he sees something in the store, something in passing, especially when we go to craft fairs, etc., and you see some beautiful jewelry artisans. The excitement of, oh, my wife would love this. That excitement is so profound. But if he puts it away, saying, I'll give this to her for her birthday or Christmas or Mother's Day, then there's two things that happen. One, he sometimes forgets where he's put it. And two, the excitement of going, oh, this is the perfect thing for her, it fades. And yes, when it gets unwrapped under the tree and there's, oh, wow, this is so lovely, there's a little bit of that excitement. But it's never quite the same as that moment when you see something and you say, such and such would love this. When I go to see jewelry at the fiber arts festivals, they always have artisans who are doing beautiful jewelry for shawl pins, etc. When I see something there that just makes me go, oh my goodness, my daughter would love this, or oh my goodness, my son would love this, I don't want to wait to share that joy because I'm thinking of them in that moment. Something that I have seen that somebody else has created has made me think of them and think of them in a way of this would make them happy. Well, I see it as a good opportunity to make them happy right then. And the reason I think it's important to allow ourselves to do that as opposed to waiting until just one specific day of the year is that while December can be depressing, while birthdays can sometimes be depressing, we can have bad things happen, things that are tough, hard days, hard weeks, hard months. We can have them throughout the year at any time. And when we think of the people that we love, and we say, wow, I'm really thinking of them today, or they would really love this, and we give it to them then, we put it in, so often is the case with me, put it in the mail, and they receive it. It makes that month, that day, that week, that tough time so much easier to deal with. I really believe that when we create things, that we are creating things that allow us to lift others. When we share the things we love with them, when we recognize something that they would love, and we have the ability to share it with them, I think we should. And I know that it's not always financially feasible. And that goes back to my desire as a child that made my brothers so unhappy. I am never going to financially be able to purchase the things that my kids need or would want, or I'm never going to be able to purchase all of the things that could make life easier for them. I'm never going to be able to have the finances to be philanthropic. I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly. But I do have the means. I do have the resources to make someone's day a little bit better through the crafts that I have, the skills that I've learned, the materials that I've learned to source at a better bargain than I'd have to spend if I were just to purchase it. The sweater that I made for my son that I finished just before Christmas. The many things that I make and share and spin and give away. Those things are things that I may not have the financial ability to go out and purchase something similar. But I have my hands, and I have the skills and the knowledge, and I can use that. And that's what I try to do. I try to share what I can in the way that I can. And I've been very blessed. I've been very loved. And I have been taught by wise people. My mom, when she passed away, people from the community were so touched when they saw, as they went through the viewing, I had placed a set of her baby booties in her hands. And as they passed through the viewing, one by one, people, men and women, old and young, got a tear in their eye and had to tell me of the baby booties that she had made and given them, the baby booties that she had made for their grandbabies, for their babies, for their great-grandbabies. They had to share with me the love they felt from her, because she had made something that they needed. Because what my mom had set out to do was not just make baby booties, but find a way to make baby booties for premature babies, twins, small infants, who oftentimes parents will struggle to find something that they can wear. And she set about doing that, as well as making just tons of baby booties for the babies of the community. And when she passed away, it was such a testimony of her effort to share her talents that so many people could look at me and take my hands in theirs and thank me for the joyful memories they had that came from the baby booties my mom had made for their family. So, she didn't use expensive yarns. She didn't have expensive tools. She lived on a very restricted budget. But she found a way, despite working multiple jobs, she found a way to serve in her community and create a legacy that I hope in some small part I can, carry on. And so I wondered when I started this and I sat down where this was going to go, and I didn't realize it was going to be such a long video. But I am glad that you've joined me for a little bit of fiber fun. As I said, I will, at the very end of this, after I finish speaking, I will come back when I have all of these done and I'll show a picture of the big pile of snakes. And if you stay tuned, if you hit subscribe, I think it's there. If you subscribe, then you'll be able to see the videos that will pop up later of the finished spin. Because I'm sure I will take videos and add videos of this spin. Eventually, I hope to have pictures to share either through my Instagram and Facebook, on my Ravelry, or in show and tell here on YouTube. I hope to have pictures of the granny square Afghans that my kids are making from these yarns. But until then, I hope that you have enjoyed this unwinding with fiber and fabric, and that you have a joyful rest of your day. I hope to see you again soon, and best wishes.